I am Josh Hilgart. I am a lawyer, and I'm here to talk to you about poverty, trauma, homelessness, addiction, mental health, and the intersection with the criminal justice system. So it's a love story. It turns out to be. Everybody wants to save the world. Most people do. But one of the problems that we run into is that the systems we have weren't built to do the things that we now realize we need to do. We don't have the right tool for the job. And I'm going to give you a little simple example to explain. When I was a new homeowner, I had this huge pile of mulch delivered in my driveway, and I was distributing it in my yard, and I was using a shovel to load the wheelbarrow. And it was not going well at all. And my neighbor, Brad, who's a very handy man, came out and he said, "Josh, why are you not using a pitchfork?" I thought, "A pitchfork? I live in the city." And he goes into his garage and he gets me a pitchfork, and obviously it's the exact right tool for the job. But you can't always go down to the hardware store to get the tool you want, and it's not always in Brad's garage. Sometimes you have to find an alternative route. And the temptation to use what you already have, the systems that are already in place, to kind of tweak them, or to use what's already in your garage, like trying to make the shovel work when it doesn't, it's so tempting. And I want to tell you tonight about how I worked with this community to build a new tool to fill in the gap for the criminal justice system that we saw. The criminal justice system, it's about 4,000 years of courts and police, and throughout those 4,000 years, it's changed very little in terms of judgment and punishment. And we realized that we had a population that needed something else. And so we created Kalamazoo Defender, one of the most innovative public defender offices in the nation, and ultimately realized that the thing that they needed most, the clients we'd serve, is love and compassion. Now, this is about the criminal justice system, but building this organization has rules that are probably applicable to any new endeavor that you might be building, particularly if you're serving people who are living on the margins. Three things that were consistent in the process as we built this was: do your research. Who are you trying to serve? And what do they need? And did you ask them what they need? Because they're experts in their own lives. 2, ask for help. You can't do anything on your own. That is a community-wide endeavor, and you don't have the expertise it takes to do everything you're going to find you need doing. I certainly didn't. And 3, tell everybody what you're going to do and why you're doing it. Be transparent. If you let the community know what you're attempting to build, you'll find that you have many allies who share your values and can come around and help you do what you want to do. So this all started about 6 years ago. The County of Kalamazoo received additional funding from the state, significant additional funding to improve indigent defense in Kalamazoo. Indigent defense, that's when you get appointed an attorney when charged with a crime because you cannot pay for one for yourself. That is most charges in Kalamazoo or any county. It makes up the majority of the system. And Kalamazoo County did something interesting with this money. They decided that they would award it to a nonprofit that could be independent and operate a public defender office. And I thought, well, I'd worked at large nonprofits, I'd represented the same population as a legal aid attorney, and I know lots of people in Kalamazoo that are passionate and knowledgeable about the criminal justice system. So we gave it a go to submit a bid for that contract. Well, the first thing we did when we came together is we did our research. And this is where we found some truly disturbing things about the state of the population we're serving and just how dire their circumstances are. 85% of the people who enter prison in the US have either an active substance use disorder or their crime for which they were arrested involved drugs in some way. 85%. 45% of the people in this nation's county jails across the country, 45% are already diagnosed with a mental health disorder. 1/3 of our children who are in the juvenile justice system meet the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. 1/3 of our kids in the system, PTSD. And one statistic that I found very chilling, in the United States, every year, 50,000 people leave incarceration to go directly to a homeless shelter. Of the 5,000 cases that Kalamazoo Defender handles every year, most of those are not the egregious crimes that you think of when you think of criminal courts and criminals. A small handful of those 5,000 are cases that could result in long prison sentences or life. Most of our clients are arrested for getting in fights, for drug use, for shoplifting, for a mental health outburst on the street, or getting in a quarrel with the police. They're not hardened criminals. They're people who lack resiliency and have been denied the support they need to be able to put their lives together. And so we asked for help. We did our research, and then we asked for help. And we started out by going to the attorneys throughout Southwest Michigan to recruit the best and the brightest. We reached out to mental health experts and criminal justice experts, and that included people with lived experience who went through the criminal justice system. And those people taught us the most. They taught us what the barriers are to get mental health, what the barriers are to get substance use disorder treatment, and how to battle those addictions when you have no resources or funds. And they taught us how lonely it was and isolating to move through the criminal justice system, to be charged and arrested and go into a court, and then have the ones who love you alienate themselves from you maybe because they're feeling insecure or distant, or they don't want to go to the courtroom, or those clients who have no loved ones at all. And then we told everyone what we were going to do. We told the county, the community, we are going to build a public defender office that is holistic. That means we will have social workers that provide services or make referrals to our clients. And we are going to address and lift up systemic racism inherent in the system, the intergenerational poverty that is disparate within the system, and the underlying issues that affect our clients so the community comes to know them better. And while we were doing our research, we talked to other holistic providers. There were a handful of them back then. And across the country, maybe a few dozen, and now there are much more. And we asked them, what can we learn from you? What doesn't work for you? Where are you struggling? And they said, the problem is that we will refer people out to their services, but we don't know what happens when they leave our door. Here's a phone number. Here's an address. And so they go out, and whether they even go to the appointment is unknown, and these places can't track how well they're doing. And so this is where the breakthrough happened for Kalamazoo Defender. And what made it possible for us to create a community of love. Is we decided, why send them out there, put them on a bus to tell their story to 50 different people? We'll bring the service providers to them. And so what we did is we asked for help. We went out to the community and raised the money to be able to go to service providers, to housing agencies, disability support systems, mental health support systems, even the public library. And we said to them that we will give you a desk, an office, a phone, a receptionist, a printer, if you can just put one of your employees in our office. And we created what we call the Village. And this was a breakthrough for public defense. It was a breakthrough for our clients because for the first time, there was coordination of care. All of these agencies working together, surrounding our clients like the Mayo Clinic. The efficiencies were much greater, and our attorneys had access to the same database with all the information, so they had up-to-date information for the court to tell them how our clients were progressing and could negotiate lower sentences because they were engaged in substance use treatment, mental health treatment, they were getting job training. I want to tell you about one of our clients. We'll call him Oliver. He had a substance use disorder problem for most of his life. And as our client, he hit that moment where he had a moment of clarity, like a window where the person who's grappling with a substance use disorder realizes they have to deal with it in order to be able to move on with their life. And this window doesn't open for very long. But the problem is if you have no money, if you want an inpatient treatment program, you have a 2-week waiting period. This window of opportunity might only last 2 hours. So 2 weeks is useless. But what was amazing about what we could do now is that the county community health worker, the peer support coach that had been working with Oliver, the social worker that had been coordinating his care with the attorneys, were able to find a bed in Grand Rapids that could take him that night. We all worked together to find funding for transportation to get him there that night. And when he left our office, he went straight into treatment. He's sober today. He may have a relapse, that's part of recovery, but he knows he can do it. And he knows there's a community around him that will support him. Now, the community part is key because it's not only the logistics. We learned also that love and compassion builds trust, and this is where the real success started to be produced here at the Village and at Kalamazoo Defender. We worked as an organism. We came together as individual experts, attorneys, housing experts, and we all learned from each other. The housing experts learned about the criminal justice system, and the attorneys learned about mental health, and the mental health experts learned about housing, and our clients became more whole to each of us as we understood their lives better. And we put enormous work into creating a welcoming environment where people knew the names of our clients, welcomed them when they came in with, hey, here's some coffee, here's some water, Oliver. Do you need any snacks? What's going on in your life? So they'd come back. And this love and trust was critical. I want to tell you about June, one of our clients who had grown up with the most horrific kinds of abuse. And then as she became an adult, she adopted a substance use disorder and started to engage in relationships that were abusive. And she finally came to our office with a shoplifting charge. We were able to work with her. We were able to get her treatment. We were able to get her case dismissed, find her housing, job training. And June now has an apartment. She has a job. She lives independently, she's sober. And she said to one of our social workers, you know, I never could have done it because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was worth it. And it was seeing that other people here in the community, that the people in the village thought I was worth it, that made all the difference. And I thought, this is a remarkable statement. You know, I didn't think I was worth it until you people here working here put your faith in me. But over the next few years, we had dozens of people who said almost verbatim the same thing. It was heartbreaking and validating at the same time, but it showed us that the only pathway to trying to help people who just need to be able to get back into their own life is to build trust and do the work to let them be their own drivers and tell you what they need and then give it to them. And it has been subsequently a huge success. Our ability to be able to help our clients avoid recidivism has been outstanding. And if you want to know what you can do to help, I would love it if in your communities or wherever your friends, your networks, talk about the Kalamazoo Defender model. It works, it's reproducible, or build a better model of your own. And if criminal justice isn't your jam, you know, you can still build something new, particularly if you're trying to serve people who have been marginalized. Just do your research, ask for help, and let everybody know what you're doing, and you can build a movement, and you can change the world. And if you ever run into a snag, just call my neighbor Brad. Thank you.